grow up.
Not yet. It's funny because it's a side effect. But yeah. It's okay. Grace and peace to you from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
You like our drawing?
What?
You like our drawing?
Oh.
Baby Jesus.
Is it baby? Oh, baby Jesus. That's nice.
And
Yeah.
Tyler Jesus.
I love it. It's great. And boo.
We have ghosts.
Yep.
I remember
When oh, that's terrible. Hold on.
you can't see that at all, can you?
Yeah.
Can you? You can.
No.
Yeah.
I remember when I first learned about recycling. Now there we go.
Now you all, everything is that one. Try it again. Try it one more time, people. Here we go.
Recycling.
I can tell a story. I tried to do story time with Pastor Hannah. It's not my, that's better. There we go. Recycling. I remember when I first learned about recycling. Now, for most of you, probably recycling's been like part of your life forever, and you know what that symbol means, right? You've seen it on everything that's from plastic to glass. I remember when recycling became like a big deal, and we had these environmental classes that came to school, and we learned about what all these symbols meant, and the twos and the ones and all the numbers. And what is that? Do you remember the three? Did you still learn the 3 R's in school?
Recycle, reuse, and
Reduce, reuse, or recycle? Reduce, reuse, recycle. 2 weeks ago, Pastor Krinky talked about judges, and Israelites are kind of like recycling. They have 3 things that just keep happening over and over and over again to them. One is they worship some idols. They decide to worship some idols. Great. Super. Sounds fun. Could be a big guy, could be a little guy, who knows? Could be a golden calf, sounds good. Then what happens is they get conquered by another nation. They get sad, they're conquered again, and then what happens? You remember what happens? Pastor Krinky told you 2 weeks ago? Yes, Jimmy.
Judge comes in and kicks him out.
Good. And then God appoints a judge.
And this is a vicious cycle that continues over and over and over again. And the Israelites just really want it to be done. It's a vicious cycle, but it's one that our Bible, our grand drama, has a good majority of what it is this cycle happening over and over and over and over again with people with names like Jimmy tried to pronounce tonight, and they're horrible, and then we don't read them, but it's like a lot of the Bible is this recycling of this story of the Israelites and God. Before I get too far down, I want to talk about a word that they used in that movie, and that I think we're going to talk a little bit more about next week, or not next week, maybe at some point after Lent. But I want to talk about the word exile. Exile, does anybody know what exile means? Jimmy, gosh, yours just like...
To be banished from a land, from an area.
Nice, to be banished from an area. Israel gets conquered by other nations, and when this happens, they get exiled, okay? And, another big part of the grand drama of our Bible is all about the Israelites in exile, and particularly the Israelites crying out to God while they're in exile. So this whole section, lot of the Bible, yeah.
Wasn't this supposed to be the promised land?
Yes, it is the promised land, and then they get exiled from it over and over and over and over again.
I think I'll stick to this next.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to think about exile in regards to where you are, right? So like, a little map, like when you Google something, this is where you are, yes? And you want it to be, the best way I could come up with it, bear with me, you want it to be at the heart of God, the heart of your land. You want it to be a place of love, whether this is like a physical place or emotional, spiritual place, a theological place. Like, this is where we want to be. We want to be in this place, the heart of the matter, the heart of God. Okay? When the nations conquer Israel, as a nation, they are enslaved and they're taken from this place. Okay? They're taken both physically and spiritually and put under the rule. We're going to just, oh, we have an eraser. I don't have to use my finger. You just do a little bit of that action. What? Hold on. I'm going to get out of your way, I promise.
You can't erase.
There we go. Well, just draw over it. You're fine. You should have gotten a pencil. You should have brought pencils. Why does the church have to provide you with your writing utensils? You're semi-adultish. Okay.
I'm working hard.
Okay. So, the Israelites are taken out of the heart of their place, and they are put under the rule of another land, of another god, of other kings. You are here. Do a little circle, and we do a little bit of this action. This is where you are, in exile. Does that make sense? Yes?
No.
Israelites, they want to be here, heart of God. Whether that's a land, oftentimes in our biblical tradition, doesn't always have to be a land. They get taken out over and over and over again because of this vicious cycle where they decide to worship idols, then they get conquered, and then they want to judge, or then God sends a judge to save them. Or okay. So all of that time, when the Israelites are over here in exile, they are crying out. They are crying out to God. Why? Why, God? If we are your chosen people, and we've been given this land that you promised us, why have you forsaken us? And why do you keep letting these nations conquer us? Why is this happening to us? Why are our children suffering? Why are our mothers weeping? Why are educated people killed and our lives stripped of your teachings, God? How can you be allowing this to happen? These are rhetorical questions, but you go right ahead, Jimmy. You
I
answer
just
it.
got a question.
Oh, okay.
I got a question. Not an answer. If they stopped worshiping an idol, wouldn't that stop them being conquered by nations? Since being conquered by nations is kind of God's retaliation against them, as they're being.
So God retaliates.
So
kind of
if they stop
rude God.
worshiping different idols,
Mhm. I mean, if we were just better people, bad things wouldn't happen to us, right?
yeah.
No. We're going to talk about that. Because the answer is no. Because even if you're the best person in the world, do you still die?
Yeah.
Do the people you love still die?
Yeah.
Do people still get cancer? There's still wars and strife and hunger and all that stuff?
Yes, yes. And coronaviruses.
And coronaviruses.
Science.
So we're going to get back to this. These are those rhetorical questions, right? These are the rhetorical questions that Israel is calling out to God about. Why? And it's a pretty powerful plea. And it's one that I think many of us have asked in our lives at different times when bad things have happened. And it's a question that all of you will ask at some point in your life when something bad happens, and you're going to ask, why, God? Why do you allow these atrocities? Why does God allow such pain and violence, hunger and death in this world? So the Israelites were wondering, and they decided to cry out. And by the way, that crying out is also captured in our grand drama. It is the grand drama, it's part of it, in the Hebrew Bible, and in the form of what's called laments, which are one of my favorite genres of the Bible, in case you wanted to know. And if you want a whole book of it, just read Lamentations. It's a pretty downer book, but I love it. It's one of my favorites. It's 4 chapters long. It's not very long. 6 chapters. 6 chapters. I think it's 6. You can check it. Do you know? Yeah, it's 5 chapters. See, somewhere in there. 4 or 6, somewhere in the middle. Okay. So the Israelites do what Israelites do. in all this lamentation, they decide they have the answer. They know what the right answer is. They know what they need to like break this cycle. The Israelites figured it out. They would be able to fulfill God's call for them to be, as Jimmy said, better people, not going back to worshiping idols, if they just had a king like all the other nations. Now, I live with 2 5-year-olds.
I feel bad.
You should. It's terrible. And one of my young 5-year-olds, his name is Milo, is that kid who, whatever toy his brother has, he wants. Whatever cup his brother wants, he then wants, and when he doesn't get it, we have the full-on meltdown. Zeke could care less.
Great drama.
He doesn't need what Milo wants. You want to talk about grand drama? This is grand drama every single mealtime. I want matchy-matchy cup. Zeke likes matchy-matchy cup, so now Milo wants all the matchy-matchy cups. So, this happens quite often with Legos.
Oh.
Lego, my Lego.
The Lego. All right, here we go. We are going to draw a little Lego. Little Lego man. Little Lego
Is that a house?
No,
it's a man.
it's gonna be a Lego
Yeah,
person.
Dad.
Bear with me, people.
Listen. Don't lie about milkshakes, Tate.
I just didn't want you to come.
Lego man. All right, and then we have these little arms that I'm really bad at the arms, so we're just gonna do this. All right, Lego man.
Yay, Lego man.
That looks really good.
Oh, thank you. Again, clip art black and white. Super helpful. Okay, my son, Milo, will scream and holler until he gets the Lego man that Zeke has. Zeke will then give it to him, and because Zeke doesn't care, because he's like, whatever, you're kind of a drama king. And then Zeke will go get another Lego man, and then Milo wants that Lego man, right?
Who's older? Oh wait, they're
They're twins, but Zeke is technically 3 minutes older.
So is that why he's a bit more better?
He's probably, no, I doubt that that's
more
it.
better.
He's more better. About this thing, trust me, he's got his own problem.
Yeah,
Let's not go to town here, people. Now, so the Israelites, like 5-year-olds, decide they need a king. Just like everyone else. Yes? Everybody has a king, God. We want a king. They come with shiny tops. And they're like super strong and they like lead people and everybody follows them and it's gonna be great.
Good hygiene.
Super,
And very-
super good
and
hygiene
handsome.
apparently and handsome. Okay, they were just sure that if they had a king, they could break this terrible cycle of idol worship, conquering, and then God appointing these weird judges to them. Now, God didn't want to do this. God didn't want to appoint a king, and God didn't appoint a king for a very, very, very long time. Israel asked for it, and God said, no, because I'm your king. I'm your king, I'm your king, I'm your king. And that's why God sent judges. Remember, that's what Pastor Krinky said. That's why God sent judges, because God is a king, so God sent judges. But, eventually, Israel wore God down, like good children do to their parents. Wear them down. Why? Can I, please? Oh, Mom, I just want the red one. Forever. Until you wear them down, and then God changed God's mind. And God relented and gave Israel a king. And giving Israel that king, they were so sure this would fix all of their problems and they would break out of this vicious cycle.
They failed.
Spoiler alert,
They failed.
it did not work at all, as was shown in the video. Because the kings are still human, which means they do get greedy and lazy, and they lied, and they murdered people, and they slept with whoever they wanted, and they became corrupt, and basically they made all the same terrible kinds of kings and queens that we've read about throughout all of human history.
Basically, it's that triangle, original triangle, and then after conquered by nations, splits off into a new triangle.
Yeah, and the triangle shifts a little bit in that sometimes it wasn't necessarily worshiping idols, but their king just was really not behaved well, and then would get into fights, and then conquered by nations, and then God would usually send another king or lift up the
corrupt king.
Yeah, and then it would happen
war,
all over again, over and over and over again. Fun
new
times.
king, war.
So what's the point? What's the point? Why does our grand drama have so many stories of this vicious cycle in all of its interesting iterations? Why does it continue to tell us that? Maybe it's just so that we can learn, right? That we can learn that we won't be like the Israelites. It's fine. Now we know, right? Just don't be like the Israelites, and we'll be totally fine. Super. But this is the grand drama, and the grand drama tells us about who God is. And God is with us in all of this vicious cycle. Now, the best way I could come up, so we have our grand drama. You guys remember my grand drama picture, right? I do love me my grand drama.
Oh.
Right? So we are in the midst of this grand drama, and God is right there with us. And I'm just gonna do this because it's just a whole lot easier. And, oh, well, okay, that was not right. Try that again, Hannah. Okay, we got a little fence going for us, right? We got a little fence, and we are playing out this grand drama, and we get to be a pig today because it was the easiest animal I could come up with to draw. And as pigs, we roll around in this muck. The muck. Mud. The pain, the horror, the crappiness of life. This is what we roll around in. The good stuff too. Sometimes the sun shines, even though it's like -6 degrees still, right?
Yeah.
So, good and bad, we weigh it all together. But here's the point. God is here. Right there. Right there with us. Whether we're in the muck or the joys of life, God is with us. Whatever part of our own cycle, because we all have them. We have them as individuals, we have them as communities, we have vicious cycles that we play out over and over and over again. We could talk about all sorts of systems that tell you that this is true. Whatever part of your vicious cycle, your part you're in, God is with you. Period. End of story. This is why half of our Bible, half of our grand drama is filled with stories of humans behaving horribly bad and God continuing to keep God's promises. God's promise to be with us. Because seriously, if God can deal with the Israelites and still be present and still give promises to them after all of the stuff that they did, we are the Israelites now.
He is really a father.
God is God. I am who I am. And God will not break God's promises. On that, we can stand. Amen. Do you like my pig? I was really happy with my